Welcome to the commencement ceremonies of the Goldman School of Public Policy at the University of California, Berkeley. We're really lucky today to have as our commencement speaker, Professor Rucker Johnson. As many of you know, Rucker actually just turned down Stanford to stay at UC-Berkeley, and wow. I am exceptionally happy. It's really wonderful. Rucker Johnson is the Chancellor's Professor of Public Policy in the Goldman School of Public Policy, as you all know. He's also an associate in the National Bureau of Economic Research. He earned his PhD in economics at the University of Michigan and at UC-Berkeley. He's been here since 2004. So with that introduction, let me give you Rucker Johnson, whose new book, Children of the Dream, Why School Integration Works, is an extraordinary piece of work that I really recommend to everybody. Everybody should go and get it and read it. Rucker.
I pay him to say these great things. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, class of 2019. All right. Dean Brady, most distinguished honorees, dedicated family, friends, faculty, staff, and to each of the talented, ambitious, courageous, passionate, civic-minded GSPP graduates of the 2019 before us here today, thank you. What a tremendous honor to share this day with you, and what a privilege it's been to teach in the core graduate MPP, MPA, and PhD programs. So you remember when you first came to GSPP for orientation? Remember when we warned you about updating your marital status on social media? There were three options: single, married, in graduate school. Well, today you can update your status. I think it was MLK that once said, "Everything we see is a shadow cast by that which we do not see." Today we see your glory, but we cannot see your foundation directly. We observe it indirectly by how you respond when adversity arises, when new challenges present themselves, and you access your toolbox of policy analysis. We want to thank our foundation. I don't mean a philanthropic one. The solid foundation upon which all else is built. Family, who've undergirded your growth and development and your amazing accomplishments. Family, we honor you. Your love, your sacrifice, and GSPP has been privileged to lay our professional foundation upon which you first established. Graduates, we have believed in your potential and invested in it accordingly. With all the family and friends who have traveled today to celebrate this milestone with you, and an observation of all you've traveled intellectually to achieve mastery of policy analysis, I want to spend some time talking about the power of public transportation. But here I mean the engine underneath the hood. For the currency of this degree is best measured in how far it travels. You'll leave this place, but it won't leave you, because we're all traveling with you. But first, you got to get your public policy driver's license, which has three components. There's the written test, the vision test, and the driver's test. Now, you remember when you were 15 and how excited you were to get that driver's permit. Today, we celebrate that you've passed the written portion of the test. You've aced the APA papers, the written exams, but as you well know, there's more to a great school than simply how one does on the test. The process isn't over, because before you get behind the wheel, you must pass the vision test. Demonstrate that not only you see what's ahead of you, but what's in the peripheral as well. There are other policy drivers on the road. These dangerous blind spots, what leads to them? Not considering diverse perspectives, distributional consequences, siloed analyses versus the recognition of the intersectionality of education, of housing, of health, of social justice, of environmental justice, the intersections of race, socioeconomic status, and gender. All drivers must share the road to equal opportunity. Now, after you've passed the written and vision test, you must get behind the wheel and drive and apply all the knowledge in the real-world policy settings. So what gear are you in right now? Park. As you bask in the rays of graduation, remember this is not your last accomplishment or even the most significant one. If you stay here too long, you'll be at a standstill. You're not created to be in one place, one space, one season. And it is possible to run out of gas in park. Today is not a parking place, but a launching pad. So reverse. It can help you get out of park to align yourself to move forward at the right angle. But you can't live in reverse. You can't be driven by the past failures, mistakes, glance back, but move forward. That's why the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror, because where you're going is bigger than where you've been. Now, neutral, now that's the most dangerous gear. Because if you move, your direction is not based on your own decisions, but only external forces around you, voices, people, the environment. And you can burn up your engine in indecision. So drive. No matter what gear you were in before, it's time to live and drive. It's a definitive decision to put your pedal to the metal with intentionality, speed, and force. Today is not the finish line, but the starting gate. Ready, set, go. But go where? We listen to Siri, that voice on our phone that talks to us on the GPS app. But we're in the dead spot. We have lost reception, and that's where you must chart your new path where a road has not been and listen to the inner voice. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my first road trip and my first accident. This was before texting and driving was even possible. I turned, my Pepsi spilled, I looked down to grab it, I saved a 50-cent soda and ruined a $10,000 car. Now the lesson, don't turn your attention to the small thing in your hand and risk losing the big thing on the road ahead. Today marks the date you've earned your official license to practice medicine. I mean policy, because we make policy prescriptions. Now that you have your MPA, your MPP, your public policy PhD license, what vehicle will transport your ideas next? The make and model should be determined by the journey you embark on. I might suggest a rugged, all-terrain vehicle. Now, I know what you're thinking, but no, you gotta trade in the luxury two-seater Porsche so you can transport more passengers than the Land Rover, for the road of opportunity is congested. But the carpooling, when you carry people, it actually accelerates your speed. See, driving in the SUV and the HOV, it builds the on-ramps. You're building bridges. And sometimes it's less about where you're going and more about who's going with you. Can I remind you? We're going with you, all of us. These skills, these tools, they travel. You need a lot of room to deliver our most precious merchandise. Innovative policy approaches and design for the most pressing societal problems. Now, how do ideas travel? Time to gas up. Hope is the fuel you'll need. I think it was in the 50s that a scientist from Johns Hopkins did a series of experiments that tested how long rats could swim before drowning. They found that under normal circumstances, a rat could swim about 15 minutes before giving up and sinking. However, if he rescued the rats just before drowning, dried them off, and let them rest briefly, and then put them back in the same buckets of circulating water, the rats could swim an average of 3 days before drowning. Yes, 3 days. If a rat was temporarily saved, it would survive 240 times longer than if it was temporarily saved. How could these rats swim so much longer the second time, especially just after swimming as long as possible to stay alive? This makes no sense unless you understand the power of hope. Envisioning hope fuels perseverance. The rats had a clear picture of what being saved looked like, so they kept swimming for it. Now, there are a lot of things that need saving today that appear to be drowning. We have suppressed voter rights, decimated public services, assaults on collective bargaining rights, slashed taxes on the wealthy, surges in racial prejudice, gun violence, opioid addiction, and sowing public distrust of government institutions. If you don't have hope on your side, you will not last to see the policies through that combat these injustices. As Cornel West said, justice is what love looks like in public. Hope and love empower, but alone they don't change policy. So before you go, hold fast to hope and your policy analysis tools, and beware of the risks to our democracy, the twin enemies of apathy and indifference, the politics of division, strategies that consolidate power among the wealthy, and fact-free ideological debates that ignore rigorous empirical evidence and best practices. So be vigilant. Don't trade human bias for technological biases built into facial recognition systems, machine learning algorithms that reinscribe prejudice. You've got a license to drive policy change now, but do you know when you first became dangerous? That is dangerous to the threat to societal ills, problems, technological and global challenges. You know when those problems first officially had an expiration date? It was when you liberated yourself from asking the question, where can I make a living? And instead asked, where can I make a difference? Now we have a house full of those people today, and that's part of what we're celebrating on this commencement. Making money is the lowest form of wealth. Making a difference is the highest form. Now, the best thing I saw this past weekend, paying it forward, was the example of billionaire Robert Smith, philanthropist, CEO of Vista Equity Partners, who was the commencement speaker yesterday at Morehouse College, my alma mater. And during his graduation speech, he made a surprise announcement that he would pay off all the student debt of the Morehouse graduating class of 2019, an estimated $40 million, the entire class. Now, I don't have it like that. So I don't become bestowing those types of gifts on our amazing graduates. But universities are a place of higher education that liberate and democratize access to the labor market. They shouldn't be institutions that make you a prisoner to your debt for the rest of your life. But no burden, no debt compares to the weight of hopelessness, which means that giving the gift of hope to someone who needs it through policy reforms may be one of the most valuable gifts we could ever give. So I want to talk about being a difference maker, being the human coefficient with 3 asterisks with small standard error, the human dy dx, the heartbeat of the differential equation, the change agent with generalizable results and holding keys to the policy prescription with both internal and external validity. I'm talking about what makes the difference, going from identifying the causal effect to causing the effect you identify. It's not what you do, it's who you are. Your purpose is noble and just. There will not be others to pick up your mantle if those like yourselves who are most privileged and well-trained fail to answer the call. We will all respond differently, but inevitably we must all respond. In the book of Jeremiah, we are asked to seek the well-being of the city to which I have sent you. And for in seeking its well-being, you will find your own. We are all expected to be warriors, not passive observers of the challenges and circumstances that face people and places. To those of us who have been given great opportunities, and UC-Berkeley is one of those, even more is expected. We must find a just and righteous cause for our life's work and worth. We will not all serve and lead in the same cause, for there are many worthy causes of action. We can choose to reach for the baton or ignore the obvious inequality in our community. There are not others who are created for our special work or who are standing in line to carry on your specifically designed problem. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? Now, Berkeley's given you the tools, the knowledge, skills, and a network of friends and colleagues to call upon. You are graduating, yes, but you're not expected to have all the answers to the questions that you will confront on your journey. There will be times that you will grapple with the right answer. You'll feel frustrated that getting this degree did not solve every problem. You'll learn that there are always competing interests. You'll learn that few questions have one answer. You'll learn the importance of continuing to listen and learn, and to hold fast to your values while being willing to re-examine your assumptions. You'll learn that success is not a solo activity, that you'll need to be willing and open to collaboration. You'll learn you cannot afford to stop dreaming of the possibilities. Now, most children are expert dreamers, but lose the ability to keep dreaming as they enter early adulthood. I believe we lose that childhood nature, childlike nature, when we stop dreaming. It is the beginning of accelerated aging. Now, belief, it's the beginning of every dream, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The fact that you're crossing this stage today is a testament of the fact that you've outdreamed imagination, outworked determination, outlasted procrastination, outlived fear of failure. Now you must do it again and again and again for you and the greater good. So my final exam question for you today is, what will you change in a single generation? That's what I'm asking this class. And I want to return us to the UC-Berkeley campaign with its Remember When, with its unapologetically bold optimism. When you return for your reunions, we want these to be your conversations. Remember when cancer wasn't treatable over the counter? Remember when stress made us sick? Remember when organic food was in a special section? Remember when US public education was a market system in which access to high-quality schools was rationed via real estate and exclusionary zoning? Remember when zip code determined your children's life chances? We believe you're the cohort. You're the set of cohorts that can turn those realities into a memory. You're the difference makers, the change agents, the human heartbeat behind any beta coefficients, with 3 asterisks denoting not by chance, but by intentionality. Now, education doesn't change the world, education changes people. People change the world, and it's your leadership. Real leadership is simply leading in the service of others. Leaders are often developed and cultivated in environments in which they were once positive outliers. We're not talking about the top 1% of the wealth distribution that our Berkeley colleagues Emmanuel Saez and Gabrielle Zucman are often writing about. We're talking about the upper part of another distribution that should matter more. The beauty of the bell-shaped curve is found in the life of the outlier. In statistics, as you know, an outlier is that data point that differs significantly from other observations. And this group is anything but average. I have a room full of positive outliers. These are not accidents, not errors, but rather uniquely gifted, highly trained public policy professionals. These are the movers, shakers, the shifters of the entire distribution to the right. And I don't mean right-wing in a partisan sense. I'm talking about recentering the outlier in our public policy discourse. I challenge you to recenter the missing data, the lost voices, the left behind, the marginalized, the disenfranchised, the lost potential, the unmeasured variables, and to highlight how their omissions matter. And experience what it means to give voice and bring voice to the omitted so that the conversation is no longer biased. Representation matters. You are not the noise to be silenced, nor the air that attenuated the measured impact, but you are the true signal of things now and things to come that speaks truth and removes bias. Change agents, the betas. I never joined a Greek fraternity, so I'm taking the time to induct you now. Some of you may have originally felt like it was hazing in PP 240B or econ or politics, but we were just equipping you. Sometimes it's important to recognize you're the product of outliers. That teacher that went out of their way to mentor you in high school, the guidance counselor who would advise you to consider that mentorship, recenter the outlier to make it the norm. You are well equipped to lead. Never estimate your own potential. And leadership potential in particular. Your leadership is not about a position or a title. What people will remember is how you show up. Your moral compass is about how you did something as much as what you did. Leadership demands hard work, head work, honor, and humility. You have the resilience and courage. You will need it in the next phase for charting a path that otherwise might consider a bit crazy. You carry the Berkeley badge wherever life takes you. People will fortunately and unfortunately judge us through you. You should wear the brand proudly and bring your active and authentic self to every endeavor, every day. In closing, over the last decade, I have thought a lot about inequality, about opportunities afforded to me and not others, and what we must collectively do to create a more perfect union for all, not just for the some. I've learned lessons from many of you. You have expanded my thinking and that of my colleagues in ways that you may never know. I have learned that relentless drive and patience. I've learned to question assumptions and biases I may have had and been forced to reframe arguments to reflect insights you have taught me. I have learned that the answers are always in the room, but not always from those of us who are professors. I have been gifted and inspired by your brilliance in your intellect, your search for truth, and willingness to probe beyond your circumstances and the obvious. You have stretched and strengthened the Goldman School, and for choosing us and choosing to come as we learn together, we are forever grateful. You stretched and stimulated my colleagues to think deeply and differently, to pause and prepare more intentionally in response to what you bring, and to wonder and question our own why. So this is a proud day for your parents and family members, but especially a proud day for us as well, who've had the good fortune to cross your path. And of course, you should celebrate and be proud that you have successfully completed this portion of the journey. May you continue to find a light at the end of the tunnel, and may you always find ways to illuminate the road for others to follow. And we do expect you to stay in touch. And as you spent so much time at GSPP, living there, hibernating there, we also want to give you back your life. So we're celebrating that too. So get a life now, and while you're at it, find your purpose and live out your calling. Let's hear it for the GSPP class of 2019.